These 5 stories I'm about to share from Life After Loss Academy are folks who have gone through the coursework program. They attended the live calls with me, and they have rebuilt lives after devastating loss. They have worked through the 5-step grief method: ground, release, integrate, establish, and foster. They've watched the video lessons. They've participated in weekly coaching. They've done the exercises on their own time, and they have created lives of hope, purpose, peace, and joy that upon entering the program, they did not think were possible. Hi there, Grief Growers, and welcome back to Grief Grower. I am so glad to be with you here today. If you have been growing alongside me in my work for a while, welcome back. And if you are new to me in my work, hello. My name is Shelby Forsythia. I am a grief coach, a 2-time, soon-to-be 3-time author, and the founder of Life After Loss Academy, which is an online program that has helped dozens of grieving people stop feeling lost, stuck, broken, and alone inside the experience of grief, and start building lives that they genuinely love from the lives that loss forced them to live. This includes not only death-related losses, because death is not the only thing that changes your life, but also divorce, breakup, major diagnosis, and every other major loss or life transition that changes your life. Here on the show, we believe that grief is not something to get over, as society would have you believe. It is something that we grow with and alongside for the rest of our lives, and that when we stop treating grief like a problem to be solved and more like an invitation to live our lives more deeply, we get to build lives that we're proud of, that are rich with the memories that we carry, the struggles that we faced, and the preciousness, the every single moment preciousness of what it is to be alive right here at this time, right now. Since the end of June, I have been walking you step by step through my grief method. This is the 5-part framework that I teach inside Life After Loss Academy, and week by week I've been giving you a behind-the-scenes outline of this structure that I teach inside Life After Loss Academy. We started with episode 17 at the end of June, all around the ground module, which is where I teach you how to feel safe in a world where loss has taught you anything can happen at any time for any reason. So it's all about getting restabilized and reoriented to the world after loss, because people say grief is unstabilizing, grief is disorienting. Yes, I agree. So getting you safe and reoriented in the world is first things first in Life After Loss. Then we covered in episode 18 the release module, which is how to let go of grief's most difficult emotions, especially those emotions surrounding who you can no longer be, the identities that loss ripped away from you, and the future that you can no longer have. So grieving the past and the future together, and the 2 lists that will help you with that. Then we took a break in episode 19 for my interview with Cara Belvin, but in episode 20, we talked about the integrate module, which is how to fold loss into your life and begin to remember positive things about your losses going forward into the future, especially if you are grieving a loved one who has died and you want to stay connected to them throughout the rest of your life. Then in episode 21, we did one of my all-time favorite topics, which is about how grief changes your friendships with friends, family, coworkers, neighbors, and how to set boundaries and form grief-honoring relationships with all the people in your life, because we do not ever do grief in a vacuum. And in last week's episode 22, we covered the foster module, which is all about how to create a lifetime partnership with grief and rebuild a life that you love from the life that loss forced you to live. So this 5-step framework, GRIEF, ground, release, integrate, establish, and foster, is exactly what I teach step by step in my online course and community Life After Loss Academy. This week, as kind of like the putting a bow on our Tour de France of Life After Loss Academy, I want to share 5 student stories with you, because I'll tell you this, what I have to teach you means absolutely nothing if it's not actually helpful for you or for other grievers who are coming up through these programs, who are implementing these tools, who are joining this community. Even if the tools I had were amazing, they don't mean anything. There is no solidity to them or validation for them if they don't actually work for grieving people in their lives. And so to wrap up our coverage of Life After Loss Academy, this sort of summer tour, I want to share stories that I have been granted permission to share by 5 different students who have entered Life After Loss Academy. And they haven't necessarily graduated, because Life After Loss Academy is one of these things that is meant to be revisited over and over again as you experience new losses or find out more information about old losses. So many of these students are still inside the community and Life After Loss Academy, but they have gone all the way through the coursework and experienced real transformations as a part of using the tools that I teach here and following the grief method to do the work of returning to life after loss. They have built lives that they genuinely love from the lives that loss forced them to live. So if you are thinking about joining Life After Loss Academy, and thank you so much to the people who've joined over the summer. We've had so many people use that code, Grief Grower, to get their first month free in Life After Loss Academy, and you can still do the same till August 31st. You probably know or can kind of get the sense that it is a supportive community for grievers facing all kinds of losses. Again, we do not just do death. We do death, divorce, diagnosis. I call them the 3 Ds, and every other loss that changes your life. But as a grieving person who's kind of like weighing your grief support options, it's really normal to wonder, does this really work? Will this actually work for me? Will it help me through my unique experience of grief, the life after loss that I am living? Because I know as well as you do that healing looks different for everyone, because grief looks different for everyone. And so these 5 stories I'm about to share from Life After Loss Academy are folks who have gone through the coursework program. They attended the live calls with me, and they have rebuilt lives after devastating loss. They have worked through the 5-step grief method: ground, release, integrate, establish, and foster. They've watched the video lessons. They've participated in weekly coaching. They've done the exercises on their own time, and they have created lives of hope, purpose, peace, and joy that upon entering the program, they did not think were possible. While each of them enrolled in Life After Loss Academy with very different pictures of grief, with very different loss circumstances, they all built beautiful lives that they love from the ones loss forced them to live. And that is the core, that is the goal of everything I teach inside Life After Loss Academy. And again, before I get into these, I want to reiterate that these are shared with permission. These are folks who have said, you can openly share my loss story and what I learned and took away from Life After Loss Academy. So the first person that I want to start with is Lori, who learned how to honor her daughter's memory while also setting boundaries surrounding her grief. And Lori joined Life After Loss Academy after the tragic suicide of her daughter, who was a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, which is a community I am a member of as well. We've talked about on the show before that I am a queer person. Being queer is a part of my grief. And on top of Lori's grief, she endured a crap ton of judgment from her religious and work communities for her daughter's identity, the way that her daughter died, and was often told that her grief was, and I don't know if you've heard this before, grief grower who is listening right now, too much. In Life After Loss Academy, Lori found a community that honored her loss, embraced her big emotions, and gave her the tools to protect her mental health by setting very firm boundaries with unsupportive people. And today, Lori practices rituals that celebrate her daughter's life, things that she learned in the Ground and Integrate modules, and channels her pain into meaningful work as a homeless liaison, specializing in LGBTQIA youth. She says, quote, "It is heart-wrenching work, but I love it." And Lori's experience in Life After Loss Academy, she summarized this way. She says, "I was a mess after my adult child suicide. I had completely shut myself off from everyone, my family, friends, and community. Shelby listened with compassion and empathy. She spoke to each one of our hearts. Through each lesson, we unpeeled layers of the onion and worked to craft our new lives. If you are hesitating, please don't. It is a life-changing experience where you learn about yourself and learn to live with grief as a friend." And Lori is still inside of Life After Loss Academy. She posted a picture there a couple of weeks ago, and it is really lovely to see how she continues to grow and honor her daughter as she continues to live life with grief. The next student story I want to share with you is named Chris. Chris is actually a therapist, and she found support and hope after the death of her nephew. Chris, again, a practicing therapist, a social worker, was devastated by her 19-year-old nephew's suicide when a side effect of his medication led him to a tragic and irreversible decision. Chris is a person who has no children of her own and felt very much as if she had lost a child. She did. She lost a child in her family. And in grieving her nephew's death, Chris was shocked to realize how little grief training she'd received in her career and how unprepared she was to cope with his death. She actually revealed to me that in her graduate program for getting her master's in social work, she received 1 week of training about grief, and it was lumped in with death and dying. And for anybody who knows anything about grief and death and dying, these are separate categories of things. End of life, the lead up to death, terminal diagnosis, illness, caregiving, all the things related to that, you could spend a whole semester or a whole year on. And then death, grief, emotional pain, navigating life after loss. Again, you could spend a whole semester, a whole year on that. And still, in many master's programs, at least in the United States, therapists, social workers, people who work with the public in spaces of mental and emotional health get 1 week of training surrounding grief and loss. And Chris was devastated to discover that fellow therapists were judging her for not being able to move on and for being stuck in her grief. Inside Life After Loss Academy, Chris was able to reframe her loss not as something to get over, which we talk about so much here on Grief Grower, but as something to fold into her life, honoring her nephew every single day. She also gained compassionate tools to help her own clients navigate grief. She took tools away from Life After Loss Academy with my permission. She's like, "Can I use this with my clients?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And she says, "I am able to live with grief in a more honest and positive way that I didn't think was possible before." The next person I want to introduce you to is Julia, and this is one of my all-time favorite stories that has come from a student in Life After Loss Academy. Julia joined Life After Loss Academy in 2020, which is when I founded it, during a huge whirlwind of grief. Her father had just died, and her mom was declining from dementia, and it was also the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, and her mother was in a nursing or an assisted living home, and she faced daily shame at work from managers who had absolutely no compassion, no room, no space for her grief. Inside Life After Loss Academy, Julia reclaimed her sense of stability and power through the ground module, especially like getting really grounded in who she was and finding safety and orientation in the world again. And slowly, as she began working herself through the program and through the lessons, she was able to, reportedly, she said to the group, start to do small and enjoyable things again. She enjoyed putting around the house, indulging in slow, mindful tea drinking rituals, which was one of her favorite things to do. And she also, through the framework of the Established module, which we talked about in episode 21 of Life After Loss Academy, setting boundaries with friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors, she summoned the strength she needed to ask for what she needed at work. And when she couldn't get it, left that hostile to grief workplace and found a new job at a tea shop, doing a thing she loved, drinking some tea, selling some tea, with 2 widows who welcomed her grief and shared their own experience with loss. She literally relocated herself from a grief shaming and grief averse environment to one that openly welcomed her grief as a part of the gig, as a part of the job. And she wrote in her review for Life After Loss Academy, quote, "This course was amazing. With so many unknowns in 2020, it provided stability. The journaling prompts were helpful in exploring my own experiences and in realizing how far I have come and what I can do. I've taken my power back in so many facets. Grief is a part of who I am. Acknowledging and welcoming all aspects of grief into my life have made me more comfortable with vulnerability, accepting who I am now and who I am becoming." And this is just, again, I get chills talking about her story because it is possible to build a life that is good from the really crappy, shitty one that life forced you to live. No one generally signs up for a life of loss. We do not want these terrible, awful things to happen to us. We do not want one parent to have died, to be caregiving for another who is in a nursing home that is inaccessible in the midst of a COVID pandemic. How on earth do you rebuild from that? You start by feeling safe or oriented in the world again. You restabilize. You start to figure out life's difficult emotions, where they can go, where you can put them, how you can begin to process them. You release them. You begin folding loss and reminders of your loved ones into your life. You establish boundaries with people who cannot honor your grief and welcome relationships that can. And you begin to see grief as a lifetime partnership, a lifetime companionship, a lifetime roommate that you're stuck with, yes, but that you can communicate with and build a life together, as opposed to one where you're constantly fighting or trying to get rid of the thing. And that is exactly what Julia did inside Life After Loss Academy. And I just freaking love her story. And last I checked, she is still at that tea shop and still enjoying puttering around the house, even as her mother eventually declined and died. And she is still talking about how what she learned in Life After Loss Academy has changed her life. Okay, so the next student I want to introduce you to is Tammy, and she was not facing a death loss when she joined Life After Loss Academy. And I always include her story because oftentimes, the majority of the time, I'd say 80 to 90% of students in Life After Loss Academy are joining because someone has died, whether a loved one or as I once heard it said, a less than loved one, someone you have a complicated relationship with has died. That is often the number one reason people join Life After Loss Academy. It's the number one reason people find my work, because people in our society think death and then they think grief. Grief equals death, death equals grief. But Tammy joined Life After Loss Academy after grieving a divorce and an empty nest. She saw from the work that I did that Life After Loss Academy was not just all about death. That's why it's called Life After Loss Academy, not Life After Death Academy, because there are so many other things that change our lives in addition to the death of a person. And so she's like, this is a big transition I'm going through. I feel disoriented. I feel destabilized. I feel like my life is very much empty and I don't know where to go from here. And those are very similar feelings to losing someone to death, even if the loss experience is the same. And she came in overwhelmed by just a great sense of loneliness, from full house with a partner and children to divorce and emptiness. And so she poured herself into the course. She showed up for every single call we did together. She watched every single lesson, and she completed every single journaling assignment or list making assignment or visualization assignment or calendar making assignment. By her end of the time in the course, by the time she reached the last lesson, Tammy discovered that grief was not her enemy, but a companion that was helping her navigate the loneliness of a major transition. And in her review, she said, "This course was more than I could ever have imagined. Through Shelby's vulnerability and transparency in sharing about her own losses, as well as the sharing of the students, I recognize that grief is not my enemy, but a friend that invites me to take a deep dive into my heart and soul. The exercises and homework that Shelby has so creatively crafted prompted me to examine the depth of my grief and embrace what grief was trying to show me and teach me. I see grief differently now, not as my enemy, but as my friend. Thank you, Shelby, for giving me permission to grieve. It has been a sacred and holy journey for me, one that has helped put this broken heart back together." And I just love this story because it shows that even non-death losses can follow this framework, GRIEF, ground, release, integrate, establish, and foster, to return to life after devastating loss, to come from this place where you feel empty, powerless, disconnected from yourself, super uber lonely, and to join a community of grieving people who get it, say, I am here right now, or I have recently been where you are, and to go through these tools and to follow these steps and this framework together and say, feeling destabilized, go to ground. Feeling like you're navigating something weird with a neighbor, go to the establish module. And to have this shared language, it really helps you feel like you take what is broken and to mend it together, possibly in a new way, possibly in a way that it's never been mended before, but in a way that helps you, again, see grief not as a tormentor or a tyrant or a dictator or the thing that has ruined your life, and instead as something that comes along for the ride as you figure out how to fold all of the losses of your life into the larger picture of your life. The last student I want to introduce you to is Kim, a very dear friend who also lives here in Illinois. She joined Life After Loss Academy after 5 years of back-to-back losses. I recently did a podcast episode with Tyler Fetter about cumulative grief, grief that builds and grows. You might know it as grief overload, but when you experience multiple losses in a short period of time, this was Kim's real life. She had lost a job that she held for many years. She lost a tight-knit religious community that was core to her identity. She lost her health in the form of a grueling cancer diagnosis and treatment. And years before this 5-year span of bam, 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 she had also lost both parents who had died. And so she had not only experienced loss in her earlier years, but had also in adulthood, in her early 50s, say late 40s, early 50s, experience 5 back-to-back years of I am being fired from my job, I have lost my church community, and I have gotten a cancer diagnosis and received treatment for that. I have been deeply changed. She described herself when she joined the course as, quote, not belonging anywhere and feeling as if I surrender to the pain and the overwhelm of grief, I will be destroyed. What little is left of me will go poof and be gone. Inside Life After Loss Academy, she found a supportive community of other people who were grieving and the language that she needed to surrender but not be swallowed by, and that's very key, surrender but not go completely under by her grief. Learning to see grief as part of herself helped her reconstruct her identity sort of from the ground up and form a new and deeper relationship with God and the people in her life. And using what she learned in Life After Loss Academy, she said yes to a new job where she feels valued and felt brave enough eventually to try out, sort of experiment with many different religious communities until she found a new one where she feels as if she belongs. And her comment that she left in the Life After Loss Academy community is my favorite in all of my years of teaching this work. She said, I feel like I have come home to myself. And that is such a profound thing for me as a grief coach to receive, but also for you as someone who is considering joining Life After Loss Academy to hear. Because one of the things I say when I talk about Life After Loss Academy is that unlike other educational courses or things you can buy online, like success, quote unquote success in Life After Loss Academy cannot be measured in dollars. A lot of online courses will teach you how to, here's how to make an extra $30,000 a year, or here's how to grow your Instagram following by 800,000 in 10 weeks, whatever the case may be, but whatever the promise is that they're selling, it's all about numbers, it's all about growth, it's all about scaling up and building bigger. That's not what we do inside of Life After Loss Academy. Life After Loss Academy success cannot be measured in dollars or numbers. It is measured in feelings. And so to receive the one sentence, someone saying, I feel like I have come home to myself, as a gift, as a statement of truth from a student who is in this course, is literally the most validating and profound thing I as a coach can receive. It says, these tools are helping. I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel understood. I feel like it's possible to move forward from this. And I know who I am amidst all of it. And what a gift that is to receive when you are in the midst of, at least in Kim's case, the 5 darkest years of your life. So before we say goodbye today, I want to get into some common questions I get about Life After Loss Academy. So if you are like, I've been listening to all 5 of these past episodes, I have now heard these testimonials from 5 students inside Life After Loss Academy. I didn't mean to do that 5 and 5, but here we are. I want to answer some common questions I get about the course, and these are posted on the page for Life After Loss Academy on my site, so you can read them for yourself if you want, but I'll cover them again here just in case you're on the fence about joining, or if this answers a question that's lurking somewhere in your brain. So first one is, I'm grieving a loss other than death. Is Life After Loss Academy for me? If you haven't heard from these testimonials, yes. Life After Loss Academy acknowledges that grief includes both death and non-death losses. This is, again, why it's called Life After Loss Academy instead of Life After Death Academy. And past students have followed the Life After Loss Academy framework to grieve divorce and breakup, major diagnosis, I'm thinking things like cancer, chronic illness, things that change your life, estrangement from friends and family, that's a big one we talk about in Life After Loss Academy, especially in our political climate right now. We also talk about grieving separation from religious community, pet loss, financial loss, geographic move, or a symbolic loss of home. Things that I consider felt losses, such as the loss of identity, innocence, safety, creativity, or connection to the divine, whether that's God or something else for you. We grieve all of these things and more inside Life After Loss Academy, and a lot of times we name griefs that we didn't even know we were carrying. One of my favorite things to do inside Life After Loss Academy when we do weekly coaching is say, oh, isn't that interesting how you phrase that? Perhaps you're grieving this? And people are like, oh, I never considered I could grieve that before. And then we go through the whole process. How do we go through the ground module, the release module, the integrate, establish, and foster module with the grief of this in mind? And it's very, very profound to be able to wrap language around that. Another common question I get for Life After Loss Academy is, what if my grief is fresh Or what if it happened a really long time ago? And what I will say is that past students in Life After Loss Academy have enrolled, and current students are enrolling at time frames ranging from just a few months after a loss to years and even decades down the road. No matter how long it's been since your losses, Life After Loss Academy's framework is designed to help you reorient to the world and then eventually form a lifetime relationship with grief. I often say it is not oriented to time, it is oriented towards rebuilding. And so I have students in Life After Loss Academy whose losses occurred 3-4 months ago. And I also have people in Life After Loss Academy who experienced losses 20-30 years ago and are just now recognizing I never really rebuilt my life after this. I am living a life. I have tried my best to quote unquote get back to normal, but I'm not really loving this life, or I don't feel like I fully grieved this loss, or new information came up about that loss, or a new loss has happened. And so that old loss is activated, and I'm discovering I never really learned how to cope with grief, how to build a good life with grief. And so that's what we do inside Life After Loss Academy. It's not a course for here's how to survive the first year after a loss. It's here's how to rebuild after any devastation that enters your vicinity. Okay, next question. Can I join from anywhere? Yes, Life After Loss Academy is available to students all over the world. Current students that are enrolled are located predominantly in the US, UK, and Canada. We do also have students in Australia, New Zealand, and the Czech Republic. All that's required is that you have a stable connection to the internet to join Life After Loss Academy. And the asterisk that I always put by this is please know that I can only speak English. I am unfortunately not bilingual or multilingual in any capacity. So in order to understand the lessons, the video lessons, the things I write, the journaling exercises, there's something called the CEFR scale, and it's like an international scale for understanding language. Having a B2 or above on that language scale, English language proficiency, is necessary to join the course because I am not capable of offering the teachings in another language besides English. If you have translation software on your computer, that may be helpful to you, but especially because there are so many specific words for grief in the English language, and I'm often differentiating between the two or like building metaphors from things. The biggest thing that's required is you need to have some sort of secondary or even tertiary level of proficiency in English to be able to join the course. But yes, as long as you understand English, you can join from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. Next question I get, when are the live calls? Weekly group coaching takes place every week. Right now it's on Mondays. It kind of varies based on, I have a part-time job in addition to the grief work that I do. This is not my only life as of right now. I'm hoping for that to change sometime in the future, but at the moment, right now it happens on Mondays, and every week we alternate between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time. That's where I am located in Chicago, and this is exactly to accommodate students worldwide. We have students joining from all over the world. 10 a.m. tends to work better for people in the UK and Europe, and 6 p.m. tends to work better for people in the United States, Canada, who may be coming home from work, and that's the time that they have to join the calls. And this schedule is always pinned to the top of the deep dive calendar page inside the course. And if you can't make the calls live, I always invite you to leave your question in the weekly questions post, and I can answer it during the live call. So there is a place to submit questions in advance every single week. So if you're like, I can't make it, but I have a question about this lesson, or this grief milestone is coming up, can you talk more about this? And then as soon as the call is over, the replay is available immediately and forever, so you can watch it at your convenience. And the cool thing is, whenever you join Life After Loss Academy, you get access to the library of deep dive replays. And so you can go back and watch replays from before you were even a student in Life After Loss Academy. So you get hours and hours and hours of just listening to me answering people's questions about life after loss. When you join the course, it doesn't just start, the library doesn't just include things from when you were a student and beyond, it includes everything that I've ever answered about life after loss. So you can search for things or browse around and see this person is grieving a friendship, I want to know more about that. You can absolutely go back and watch those replays to learn more about what I have told people in the past. And then of course, you're always welcome to ask your own question. Okay, this is an interesting question, but I think a lot of people, especially grieving people, because we are so oriented to time of like, it's been X months since they've died or X years since they've died. And a lot of people in our society want to focus on things like productivity or momentum or being motivated. They want to know, how long does it take to complete the course? And I always have to offer the caveat that just like grief, completing, heavy air quotes, completing, life after loss has no timeline. The goal is to build a lifetime partnership with grief, and that's never really done. It's done when you're dead. Sorry to put it bluntly, but it's done when you're dead. We stop living a life with grief when we die. So I will say that your experience in Life After Loss Academy depends on what other tools and practices you've used to navigate grief thus far. It also depends on how deeply you engage with the homework and the live calls, how much you're able to hold and focus attention, because especially if you're early on in grief or have experienced multiple back-to-back losses, grief brain is a very real thing. But that being said, most students start feeling better after completing the ground module, that very first one. It's a series of about 6 to 10 video lessons, and most students finish the course anywhere between 2 and 10 months. And so generally I say like less than a year. I say give us a year to see how you go, to see how the lessons resonate with you, to be with us through a year of your milestones, holidays, big events in your life, potentially finding out new information about old losses or grieving old losses again or grieving new losses potentially. Give us about a year and just see how you go. And of course, you are in charge of your membership, your student access to Life After Loss Academy. And so if it doesn't work for you, you can cancel at any time. There's no pressure to stay in the course if you feel it's not working for you. I've had people join and say, wow, there's so much here, there's so much to learn, there's so much to watch, and I am deep in the weeds of grief logistics, as we've called in previous podcast episodes, SADMIN, the SAD administration of Life After Loss, that I just don't have the brain space right now to even attend a deep dive call or even to watch a lesson. So I'm going to cancel my membership and join at a later time, which they've done. And I have people who have been students in Life After Loss Academy for 5 years. I founded this in 2020 and it's still going now in 2025. And so for people who are in the course for that long, staying connected to the community of grieving people has been so helpful for them, grieving with us through milestones, it's been 10 years now. Here's a new thing I learned about grief. I keep seeing reminders of them. I have dreams about them. Like, these things keep happening in Life After Loss. And it's not because we're bad at grief. It's because we are living life with grief all the time. When loss enters our lives, it never leaves. It doesn't leave. And so being a member of the community forever is something that resonates for them. So you get to choose sort of your own adventure, what path you'd like to take. Most people, if you're pretty aggressive about completing the lessons, if you have the capacity to pay a lot of attention and focus a lot and kind of work through things like you would sort of an online school, you can complete it in about 2 months. But most grieving people will complete the coursework anywhere from 6 to 10, if that gives you a good idea of what to expect. And that's just because life be lifing. Life is lifing alongside everything else you're trying to do. And one of those things includes grieving. I will say that keep in mind, your goal in Life After Loss Academy is not to finish, but to build a lifetime partnership with grief. And it is designed to revisit again and again and again and again. So again, as new milestones occur, if you want to grieve through the holidays with us, if you want to celebrate things that are happening in your grief that you feel like your friends, family members, coworkers, neighbors, they just wouldn't get it, Life After Loss Academy becomes a place where you can put all of that. It becomes, for many grieving people, especially early on in loss, when a lot of friends and family and other folks have drifted away or gone back to their normal lives, heavy air quotes on that, it becomes a place where your grief can live. And that's a really crucial thing to have, especially if you do not feel you have a lot of supports in the early days or even in the later days of life after loss. The thing I want to invite you to, as we're kind of wrapping up this series on Life After Loss Academy, is that this is always open to you. This is not a grief support program that's like a 6-week thing and then you're kicked out, or it's like a 10-week thing and you have these exercises and you have this tiny cohort and then you're done and you never see each other again. These 5 testimonials, these student stories from Life After Loss Academy, illustrate the variety of losses you can have joining Life After Loss Academy, the outline of how the grief method framework can support you, and potentially what sort of transformation is possible for you if Life After Loss Academy is something that's been calling to you, as we've done these podcast episodes through the summer. Grief can leave you feeling lost, broken, struggling, empty, lonely, without purpose. But with these practical tools, these little step-by-step video lessons, and the consistent support of a community, coaching with me, it is possible to create a life that both honors your pain and also pursues and embraces, when they arrive, hope and joy. So if you are a person who is ready to do that rebuilding after devastating loss, if you have the capacity, if you have the interest, if you even are like, this might be something that's interesting to me, whether you're grieving a death, divorce, breakup, major diagnosis, or other significant grief event, I am here, and Life After Loss Academy is here to guide you every single step of the way. You can still use that code, Grief Grower, to join us for free for 1 month in Life After Loss Academy until August 31st. And you can choose whatever payment plan resonates for you and then enter Grief Grower and you will get your first month absolutely free. And again, you're in charge of your membership. So if you decide after 1 month it's not for you, you can cancel. And you will not get charged anything, because I tell people all the time, I'm not in the business of holding your money hostage. It's bad karma, first of all. And second of all, like it's just not, it's not a way to operate a business or exist in a world with integrity. And so what I want for you is to be able to try this on, sort of like I often call it the dressing room of grief. Try on Life After Loss Academy as a support tool for you. You could try on therapy. You could try on grief support. You could try on seeing a medium. You could try on going on a grief vacation. You could try on exercising for your grief. You can try on all kinds of things to help with grief. See if it fits. See if it feels good to your body, heart, mind, spirit, soul. And if it doesn't, you are more than welcome to cancel. And if it does, I am so delighted to welcome and honor your presence in Life After Loss Academy and look forward to coaching you through deep dive sessions every single week, and also to guiding you 24/7 through a library at your fingertips of tools that you can use, grounding tools, releasing tools, integrating tools, establishing tools, fostering tools through the grief framework in this course and community. Thank you so much for spending time with me this summer as we have gone the full gamut of Life After Loss Academy, and I'm always so delighted to bring more episodes of Grief Grower your way. That's all for this episode of Grief Grower. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're looking for grief support beyond the show, you can find free workshops, blog articles, and my signature What's Your Grief Support Style quiz at shelbyforsythia.com/links. And if you'd like to get support from me for your unique loss experience, you can join us in Life After Loss Academy. As a student, I'll walk you through my 5-step grief framework for rebuilding life after loss, and you can get live coaching from me every single week to answer your questions and honor your milestones. Replays are always available if you can't attend live. It's just $33 a month to join, or $22 a month if you're a marginalized or financially stressed griever, and you can cancel at any time. Now through August 31st, take advantage of getting 1 month free of Life After Loss Academy with the code GRIEFGROWER, all one word. You can find a link to do that in the show notes. Grief Grower is hosted by me, Shelby Forsythia, and the theme music is composed by Addie Goldstein. Until next time, I see you. I am so proud of you and the work that you're doing in the world. And I love you, because even through grief, we are growing.